Welcome to the first video about vision science research. My name is Jennifer Lantrip, and I'm a health sciences student success librarian at Pacific University. This video will cover developing research questions. During this video, we'll take a look at the Optometry Research Guide, also for vision science, the evidence-based practice process and what steps the library can work with you on, and the literature search process, keeping a research log, and PICO or research questions. You can find the Optometry Research Guide by looking on the library's website and clicking Guides. You can find the links to the databases that we'll discuss today. Um, Evidence-based practice involves combining client perspectives, your own clinical experience, and internal evidence. So that's evidence about your patient, and external evidence, which is evidence from literature, when making your clinical decisions. The steps include assessing your patient, asking an answerable clinical question, finding relevant evidence in healthcare literature, and appraising the evidence you found for its validity and acceptability. Finally, you would apply the evidence to patient care and then evaluate your patient's progress. The library can help you with the research-related steps in the process, which are asking clinical or research questions, finding evidence, appraising the evidence you found. You'll likely be doing literature searches for a literature review for your own research. When doing literature searches, your goal is to find the most relevant information about your topic, which means that you'll want to be very specific about what your question is, which will help you determine what you're looking for. You need to use good search techniques to find all of the relevant information. Next, you'll appraise the evidence you found so that you understand its validity and where it fits in with the other literature on your topic. If you are writing a systematic review, so a systematic review is a study design where you will search for all evidence that meets specific criteria in order to answer a specific research question. So it's like a type of study. So if you're writing a systematic review, your goal would be to find a complete or at least representative sample of available eligible studies on your topic. You'll need to search multiple sources and multiple types of sources because no single source will contain all available studies. For databases, I recommend doing an initial search in all of these databases for your topic to see which ones contain relevant studies. For those that do, I would suggest doing an in-depth search for your topic. You will definitely want to check the reference list of relevant articles that you find. Similarly, you could do cited by searches for relevant studies. PubMed, Web of Science, and Google Scholar offer this feature, which shows studies in their databases that have cited the study you're looking at. You could also contact authors directly to find more about their research, and you might also want to look at conference proceedings. These will often appear in your search results in Web of Science and PubMed. And you could also check dissertations and theses in clinicaltrials.gov to see clinical studies in the US and over 200 countries. The link at the bottom of this slide will bring you to the systematic reviews section of the Vision Science research page, where you can see this list with links to each source. When doing research, you will thank yourself if you keep a research log. This will save you a lot of time. In your research log, write your research or clinical question with your PICO elements, the databases you've searched, the search terms and filters that you have used in each database. Get the complete citation for each source that you find, and as soon as you find it, and get permanent links to sources and databases. Don't copy the links in your web browser, which may break, but rather look for a permanent link. You might also see these links labeled as bookmark, share, document URL, or permalink. Also, write any notes about the credibility of the source and the relevance of the source, specifically what information it provides to help you answer your research or clinical question. So let's get started with our research question using this PICO form. The purpose of PICO is simply to help you identify the components of your research question or your clinical question, which will help you brainstorm search terms and stay focused while you're searching for and selecting sources. Essentially, PICO asks you to break down your question into 4 parts. P stands for patient, population, and problem. And so this would include the relevant characteristics of your patient, including if there is a subset of the population you're researching. It would also include the specific condition or disease you're addressing. For our example, we'll look at myopia in children. And our patient is 5 years old, so we'll add age 5 here. I stands for intervention, prognostic factor, exposure, or diagnostic tool. So essentially, this is what you're considering for this patient or population. In our case, we're considering 0.05% atropine as a treatment for our patient. And C stands for comparison. So that's what you would like to compare your intervention to. In our case, we would like to compare 0.05% atropine to 0.01% atropine. So 0.05% atropine would be our intervention and 0.01% would be our comparison. Sometimes you may not have any comparisons, and so you would just leave the space blank if you're not comparing your intervention to anything. Finally, your outcome would be what you hope to accomplish. In this example, our desired outcome is effective control of myopia. So now that we've identified our research question, our next step would be to identify what types of sources we would need to give us this information. So please reach out with any questions.